Stephane, are you worried about a new variant of Omicron?
So first of all, thank you for having me and thank you for the kind words. I'm not losing sleep on it. As I've said before, I think there's an 80% chance that the variants that we're going to see in the future are manageable from a severity standpoint and vaccine protection. But I think we should always be very cautious because there's a 20% chance that something happens in terms of a new variant that is very virulent. Like if you remember, Delta came after Alpha, but it was more virulent, Delta than Alpha. So we have to be cautious. And we're staying ready as a company to be able to update the vaccine as fast as we can if needed.
In America, we have such a low usage of the booster. Now, we're talking with you about the success of under 6 years old treatment and such. Tell us what we need to do to get a worldwide booster program going. What is the next step in a COVID that in our minds, maskless, is receding?
Yeah, I think people have to be careful, especially based on their risk. You know, I have daughters that are 18 and 19. They've got vaccinated. Do they need to get boosted every year? Maybe not. We don't know yet. We need to look at the data. But, my parents that are in their 70s and 80s need to be protected most probably once a year with a booster like we do with flu. Because the issue as you get older, our immune system is not as strong like people that have, cancer or other disease. Yeah. And those are the people we need to be very careful about.
Well, Mr. Bancel, you didn't just apply, though, for a fourth booster shot for older people. You applied for all adults. What was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, it's to give a flexibility to the regulator to adapt to their needs. Let's not forget that there are people, unfortunately, that are 25-year-old that have cancer or 35-year-old that have organ transplant. And so we applied 18 and above so that in our dialogue with the FDA and regulators around the world, we can give them all the tools and all the data so we can make the right decision country by country.
All right, and while we're having a conversation about booster shots, potentially fourth shots for adults, we also have to talk about the under 6-year-olds, which Tom Keene mentioned. You released the data yesterday on the efficacy, looking for FDA clearance. On what timeline do you expect that?
So I think potentially this authorization of 6 months to 6 years could happen faster in the UK, Europe, Canada, and other countries. For the FDA, it might take a bit of time. As you might know, the vaccine is not currently approved for teenagers in the US, and so we're going to have to work with them to get all that age cohort. But we are in constant dialogue with the FDA, and so we're going to do our best with them to get this as fast as we can to parents. But also we have to, of course, to be very careful with safety, which is a number one priority when you talk about vaccines.
Stephane, what is so important here is the outrageous success of mRNA in the timeline that you and your good competitors at Pfizer were under. What does mRNA do next? What is the next step after the stunning success you've achieved?
So what we want to do is we want to have people not being sick, hospitalized, or dying from respiratory virus. There are around 10 respiratory viruses that lead to disease and hospitalization. And today, there's only vaccine against flu. As you know, most of them don't work very well. We announced today very good data on our first generation of flu shot, which we want to combine into a single shot, COVID booster, flu booster in only one shot. We also have RSV, which is another respiratory virus that is in phase 3 right now. We're also announcing this week that we'll combine COVID and flu and RSV booster. So we'll make it very easy for people. The idea will be you get a shot a year and you are well protected.
And what are the odds that an mRNA flu shot will be superior?
So I think over time it's pretty high. What we're going to do with the current product, and we're showing today that we have the possibility for the most important strain of flu, which is influenza A, leading for 95% of hospitalization. Our level of antibody is higher. We'll have to demonstrate it in a large study in phase 3, but it smells pretty good. And that's our first generation of flu. We're then going to add more components to get the efficacy way higher. So give us a couple iteration of product, and I'm talking couple years, not 10 or 20 years, and I believe we're going to get a very high efficacy flu shot on the market.